A 14-year-old girl got pregnant, and after the ultrasound, the doctor ran out of the room. At the bustling city hospital, Mrs. Evelyn tightly held her granddaughter's hand and led her into the examination room of Dr. James, a well-known middle-aged doctor in the area. "Hello, I'm Dr. James. What symptoms are you experiencing?" he asked gently, glancing over at Abigail, who was avoiding eye contact. Mrs. Evelyn spoke quickly. "She's been dizzy, constantly vomiting, exhausted, and she even fainted this morning. I'm afraid it might be a stomach issue or appendicitis." James nodded and began a basic examination. He placed the stethoscope on Abigail's abdomen. Suddenly, he frowned. Then he asked softly, "Have you missed your period?" Abigail flinched. Mrs. Evelyn's eyes widened in shock. I don't remember," Abigail stammered, her face flushing. James stopped, sat up straight. "I want to order an immediate lower abdominal ultrasound." Mrs. Evelyn asked worriedly, "Is it serious, doctor? I want to be sure. It could be acute gastritis or something else." Abigail lay on the ultrasound bed. Nurse Ella spoke gently, "Don't worry, sweetie. It's just an ultrasound. Just stay still, okay?" The machine emitted a steady sound. Abigail closed her eyes. But a moment later, she heard Ella softly gasp. Dr. James stood, eyes locked on the screen. His expression completely changed. A blurry image appeared. A dark circle in the middle of the screen. Then a tiny form, lightly moving in the surrounding fluid. He pulled his hand from the control stick, stood up abruptly, his face pale. "Ella, keep her here. I need to make a call." Out in the hallway, Mrs. Evelyn was pacing nervously. Dr. James stepped out, his face tense, phone in hand. "You're Abigail's legal guardian, right?" he asked. "Yes, what's going on, doctor?" "I'm very sorry, but Abigail is pregnant. The fetus is about 3 months along." Mrs. Evelyn froze. "What? No, that can't be true. She's only 14. Doctor, you must be mistaken. We've confirmed it through the ultrasound. There's no mistake." Mrs. Evelyn staggered back, her trembling hands gripping the edge of a chair. "No, this can't be. I'm required to notify the police. This is a suspected case of child sexual abuse." "Wait," she stammered. I don't understand." Abigail stepped out from the room, her face pale as a sheet, tears streaming down. She clutched her stomach, shaking. "Abigail, who did this to you?" Mrs. Evelyn whispered. Abigail stayed silent, then broke into sobs. "It was my stepfather. Michael." The air went thick with shock. "He hurt me many times since Mom died," Abigail cried. "I didn't dare say anything. I was scared." "Stop. No, that can't be true. Michael is a good man. He loves you. He told me not to tell anyone, or he'd kill both you and me." In the hospital police office, Detective William entered with a female investigator named Scarlett. Both wore navy blue uniforms. "We need Abigail to provide her initial statement," Scarlett said gently. "Just tell us what happened, sweetheart. Don't be afraid." Abigail curled up at the edge of the chair. She looked at Mrs. Evelyn as if begging for help, but her grandmother still said nothing. Abigail began to speak. "The first time was, when I was 12, after Mom's funeral." William took notes. Scarlett nodded. "And then, Abigail?" He said. "Mom died of heartbreak, and if I wasn't good, you would die the same way." Mrs. Evelyn shouted, "Stop it. You're making this up." "Ma'am, please remain calm," Scarlett said firmly. "Grandma," Abigail sobbed, "I didn't dare say anything. I was afraid I'd be kicked out of the house." William said, "We'll order a DNA test immediately." If it matches, justice will be served. That night, the phone rang constantly. Callers asked, "Is Abigail really pregnant? Was it Mr. Michael? Evelyn, how could something this horrible happen under your roof?" Mrs. Evelyn sat in a corner of the room, staring into the darkness, her ears ringing. Abigail locked her bedroom door, hugged a pillow, and whispered, "I'm sorry, Mom." The next morning, 2 police cars were already parked in front of the house. A group of reporters was gathered across the street. As Mrs. Evelyn opened the door, camera flashes went off wildly. "Mrs. Evelyn, did you really not know your granddaughter was being abused? Did Abigail ever confide in you? Did you ever suspect Mr. Michael? How do you feel right now?" She raised her hand to shield her face and pulled Abigail behind her. Her voice trembled, "Get back. Stay away from my granddaughter." Detective William stood by the car. He stepped forward to shield them. "We ask that the press keep their distance from a minor. If not, we will press charges." Abigail clung to Mrs. Evelyn, her eyes red. What are they going to do to me, Grandma?" "It's okay, sweetie, the police are here," her grandmother said, squeezing her hand. Scarlett appeared from the second car and approached. "We're going to take you both to a witness protection center. It's safer there, and they have therapists who can help Abigail." "No. I don't want to leave home. This is my home," Abigail cried out. "Abigail," Scarlett knelt to her level. "You're very brave. But he won't give up easily. You need to be safe if the truth is going to survive." Mrs. Evelyn gripped her granddaughter's hand. "Listen to them, sweetie. I'm sorry. I should have protected you from the start." In the car, Abigail sat silently, her head resting against the window. Louise sat in the front seat, occasionally glancing back at her through the rearview mirror. "Do you know you're changing the whole system?" he said quietly. Abigail didn't answer. Mrs. Evelyn sighed. "She hasn't eaten anything all morning." Louise rummaged through his bag and pulled out a small sandwich. "Grace made this for you last night," she said. "Abigail will be hungry, even if she doesn't admit it." Abigail took it and gently bit into it. For the first time in days, she could taste a hint of sweetness, however faint. At the holding facility, Mr. Michael was led down the hallway in handcuffs. His lawyer, David Parker, a man notorious for bending the law, was waiting in the interview room. "I didn't do anything wrong," Michael said, staring straight ahead. David opened his briefcase. "Then prove it. The media is coming for you from every direction. The girl is lying. I raised her like my own. Evelyn knows that. The police have her testimony, an ultrasound, and now a DNA test underway. If the results match, you understand." Michael clenched his jaw. "I can't sit here like some humiliated animal. Do something." David gave a cold smile. "I'll launch a media strategy. We'll go after public perception. Abigail is an emotionally unstable girl, traumatized by her mother's death. Evelyn failed as a guardian." Michael nodded. "Good. And don't forget, I still have friends in politics." That night, social media exploded with headlines like, "Abigail, Angel or Accuser, a stepfather falsely accused," alongside old photos of Michael hugging young Abigail. The internet split into 2 sides. One demanded his punishment. The other started to question, why didn't Abigail speak up sooner? It's just words, nothing proven yet. In the safe house, Abigail sat hugging a pillow, reading each comment on her phone. "Stop reading them," Mrs. Evelyn snatched the phone, eyes teary. "People are cruel. I just want to know if anyone believes me." Scarlett and legal counselor Lily held their first trauma support session with Abigail. "You can talk or not. Everything goes at your pace," Lily said gently. Abigail curled up on the couch. "Every night, he came into my room, never knocked, never said anything. He said if I screamed, Grandma would die. Scarlett bit her lip. Lily took notes, her eyes glistening. One time. I had a fever, and he still, touched me and more. Mrs. Evelyn stood from the corner, rushed over, and hugged her granddaughter tightly, sobbing, I'm sorry. Abigail. I was blind. I should have seen. Abigail cried too. I just wish Mom was still alive. A week later, the DNA test results were in. Attorney David called, voice tense, it's his child. A 99.98% match. Michael slammed the table. They'll never dare convict me. Then you'd better put on one hell of a show, David growled. That night, Abigail couldn't sleep. The ticking clock echoed in the dark room. She got up, walked quietly to the balcony, and looked at the sky. I'm carrying a baby, and I don't even know how to protect it from this world, she whispered. Footsteps sounded gently behind her. Grace brought a warm glass of milk and placed it softly on the balcony railing. I think, maybe you need this more than silence, she said. Abigail looked at her with gratitude. Everyone here has been kinder to me than my own family. No one chooses where they're born, Abigail. But you're choosing what's right. And that's what matters. Will things ever get better, sis? I've worked on 12 cases like yours. 6 of the girls are still struggling. 4 are living strong lives. And 2 have turned their stories into action to protect other kids. I'm scared. I was scared too. But in the end, only you can write your own ending. The next morning, an envelope arrived at the center. Inside was a color printout, an image from a local magazine cover, showing a candid shot of Abigail arriving at the hospital. The bold headline, Pregnant Girl Lies to Ruin Her Perfect Stepfather. Mrs. Evelyn's hands trembled as she crushed the paper. Who gave them permission to print this? Louise fumed, I'm filing a report and pressing charges. Abigail is a minor, they're not allowed to publish her face. Abigail was stunned. I don't want to sue anyone. I just want them to leave me alone. Grace shook her head. No, Abigail. Sometimes silence doesn't help. They want you to feel ashamed for standing up. Mrs. Evelyn gripped her granddaughter's hand. From now on, I won't let anyone humiliate you. No one. Louise nodded. This is the moment to fight back legally. We won't let you fight this alone. On Monday morning, Abigail was summoned to the city courthouse to provide additional testimony. Louise and Scarlett accompanied her to ensure her safety. Don't worry. Just a few clarifying questions. With your help, we have a real shot at prosecution, Scarlett said as she adjusted Abigail's collar. Will he be punished? Abigail asked softly. With the current evidence, almost certainly. But the other side's lawyer is very skilled, they'll try everything to flip the narrative. Louise added, we won't let that happen. The courthouse was massive, making Abigail feel smaller than ever. She sat in a private room, facing 2 investigators. Scarlett sat to her left. The recorder was switched on. Abigail, please describe in more detail the times Mr. Michael assaulted you. Every detail matters, one investigator said gently. Abigail bit her lip, clutching the hem of her shirt. The first time was 3 days after my mother's funeral. He told me not to make a sound, and locked the door. Do you remember what he said? He said, if you tell anyone, I'll kill you and your grandma. Scarlett placed a comforting hand on Abigail's shoulder. It's okay, sweetheart. Go on. Many nights, I could hear Grandma coughing. I wanted to run out, but he held me back. I tried to fight him off, but he was too strong. Abigail collapsed onto the table, her shoulders shaking violently. One female investigator silently placed a tissue next to her. That afternoon, Mr. Michael was allowed a media interview from Holding. He sat in front of the camera, hands folded neatly, his face calm. I didn't do anything wrong. Abigail was emotionally unstable after her mother's death. I was the only one left to take care of her, and she blamed me. What do you say about the DNA results? A reporter asked. I don't deny the biology. But that doesn't mean I committed a crime. There are details people don't understand. I'm the real victim here. The news aired that same night. Once again, the public was divided. At school, Abigail was asked to temporarily withdraw to avoid disrupting the class. Mrs. Evelyn held the letter, shaking with anger. They're kicking you out. Without even asking you a single question. Abigail lowered her head. It's okay, Grandma. I'm tired anyway. Zoe came to visit, bringing notebooks and homework. I don't care what they say. You're still my friend. Abigail took the items, her eyes shining. Thank you. I didn't think anyone remembered me. Zoe smiled, you're the bravest person I know. That night, Mrs. Evelyn received an anonymous phone call. Keep your mouth shut, old woman. Don't think the court can touch Michael. If Abigail keeps talking, you'll be roadkill. She stood frozen. Luis rushed to the house, checking all the security equipment. We'll install cameras at the front gate. Don't go outside alone. Do you think he sent someone to threaten me? Absolutely. But we won't let them get to either of you. The next day, Abigail was summoned to the forensic center for a comprehensive medical exam for the case file. She sat silently on the examination bed, saying nothing. The female doctor, Aria, tried to speak gently. Abigail, we're not going to do anything that will hurt you. Everything is to help protect the truth. I don't want anyone touching me anymore. That's okay. You can hold your own hands. I'm here. No one will make you do anything you don't want to. Abigail trembled, but eventually nodded. That afternoon, Mrs. Evelyn and Luis met with Abigail's attorney, a sharp woman named Chloe Hall. Stacks of thick documents covered the table. We have all the evidence we need, testimony, medical reports, DNA. The problem is, the media and David's legal tricks will try to plant doubt. So what do we do now? Asked Mrs. Evelyn. I'll present Abigail as the key witness, but we need to ensure her mental health is stable. We're also coordinating with international child protection groups to add outside pressure. Luis nodded. I'll talk to independent media. The real story, Abigail's truth needs to be heard. On social media, a post by the group Fearless Childhood began to spread widely, Abigail's story, a voice silenced by toxic media. It included an illustration of a pregnant girl surrounded by shouting mouths. The comments began to shift. I'm sorry I ever doubted you. Abigail, you're not alone. Now that I have a daughter, I understand the pain of victims like you. That night, Abigail sat in her small room, writing in her journal. She quietly drew hearts, daisies, and the word, hope. Mrs. Evelyn entered and sat beside her. Your drawings are beautiful. I'm drawing my future. I'm not ashamed to walk outside anymore. People are starting to understand. Me too. I'm no longer ashamed for speaking up. Mrs. Evelyn brushed her hair. You're stronger than I thought, stronger even than your mother. Early the next morning, a police car pulled up to the gate. Luis stepped out, looking tense. There's a situation. Michael just sent a handwritten letter from jail, to Abigail. Mrs. Evelyn grabbed it and tore open the envelope. Inside was a scribbled note. You little whore. You think I'll just let this go? Everyone will turn on you. You'll regret ever being born. She trembled. He's gone mad. Luis immediately called Scarlett. We need to increase protection urgently. He's trying to manipulate the victim emotionally. The following day, a special hearing was held at court to approve moving the case to trial. Chloe Hall appeared with Abigail. Across from them were David and Mr. Michael, the first time both sides faced each other. Abigail clutched Mrs. Evelyn's hand, her heart pounding. When her eyes met Michael's, a chill ran through her body. "You don't need to be afraid," Chloe whispered. "He has no power over you anymore." The judge banged the gavel. "The court determines this case to be of serious nature and requires the earliest possible trial date. The formal trial will begin on the 12th of next month." Mr. Michael let out a mocking laugh. "This whole circus will fall apart soon enough." Abigail didn't look back. She looked straight ahead and whispered, "This time, you won't get away." The day before the official trial, light rain fell, the air heavy as if warning of a coming storm. Abigail woke up early, aching from back pain and cramps, her belly now visibly large. Mrs. Evelyn stood by the bed, her eyes filled with both worry and pride. "Are you okay, Abigail?" she asked in a raspy voice. Abigail forced a smile. "I'm okay. Just a little tired, Grandma." Mrs. Evelyn nodded softly and stepped out to call Luis. "Mr. Luis, she's okay, but I'm really worried." Luis walked in with a cup of hot coffee. "Ma'am, we've informed Nurse Aria to closely monitor Abigail's health all day today. If anything feels off, we'll take her to the hospital immediately." Abigail sat up and picked up her phone. A flood of support messages from fearless childhood and child advocacy organizations filled the screen. She quietly read. "Abigail, we're proud of you. You're not alone, you're the hope of thousands of children. Stay strong. You are a warrior." A message from Zoe, "I'll be waiting for you at the courthouse. I believe you'll win." Abigail's eyes welled with tears. "Thank you, everyone." In a small office at the Witness Protection Center, Scarlett, Chloe Hall, and William were holding a quick strategy meeting. "Tomorrow, at 9 in the morning, Abigail and Mrs. Evelyn must be at the courthouse," Scarlett emphasized. "We need to prepare the files, medical reports, testimonies from the nurse and Dr. James, and the DNA documentation." Chloe nodded. "I've already submitted the request to extract the original ultrasound recording and Dr. James's detailed report. I've also prepared a short video outlining Abigail's visit to the hospital to prove there was no staging." William opened his laptop, displaying a map of the courthouse hallway, main entrance, witness area, separate press access. "I'll coordinate with the courthouse police to ensure no one gets close to Abigail except the protection team." Luis added, "We'll also assign 2 officers to escort her. An armored vehicle will be on standby for all movement." Chloe smiled, "Perfect. Are we missing anything?" Scarlett checked her watch. No suicide note from David yet. He's still stalling. Not far away, in the detention center, David Parker was typing on his phone, his tone threatening. "Mr. Michael, the upcoming trial will be our stage to prove Abigail is fabricating everything. I've contacted several psychiatrists to claim the pregnancy may have caused psychological stress leading to hallucinations." He stopped typing, smirking. "We'll build a story persuasive enough to distract the public." David then called Michael. "Everything is ready. We'll release a psychiatric report on Abigail and find witnesses who claim they saw Evelyn yelling at her. Social media will take care of the rest." Michael gave a cold laugh. "Good. I want to see her supporters disappointed. I will win, and Abigail will pay the price." Abigail stood in front of the mirror, wearing a simple white dress that hugged her growing belly. She looked into the mirror, trying to smile. "Be strong. I have to be strong, for the baby." Mrs. Evelyn entered and tucked a lock of Abigail's hair behind her ear. "You look beautiful. Turn that pain into strength." Abigail looked at her. "Grandma. I'm really scared." Mrs. Evelyn squeezed her hand. "I know. But you're not alone. Your mom, Luis, Scarlett, Chloe, they're all here. You are our hope." Abigail closed her eyes, taking a deep breath. Outside the courthouse, a security perimeter had been established. Reporters, protesters, and even some hostile onlookers gathered. There were also groups supporting Abigail, holding banners that read, "Justice for Abigail," and "Protect Children." Abigail stepped out of the car, Mrs. Evelyn at her side, Scarlett and Chloe flanking them, with Louise and 2 officers behind. Abigail held her grandmother's hand tightly and walked forward slowly. Cameras turned, flashes blinding. Abigail lifted her head high, eyes fixed on the courthouse entrance. A reporter shouted, "Abigail, how are you feeling?" Abigail paused and replied, "I believe justice will prevail." The crowd fell silent. The courthouse hallway stretched endlessly. Each step Abigail took echoed. Every step was pain, every breath, resolve. From the far end, whispers floated. She really showed up. Evelyn must have filled her head with stories. Abigail saw a group of students sneaking a look from behind a barrier. Some raised their hands in a quiet salute, others nodded encouragingly. She nodded back, tears sliding down her cheeks. The courtroom was vast, the witness seating packed. Representatives from Fearless Childhood were present, as was her teacher Zoe. Scarlett guided Abigail to the witness bench, Chloe seated beside her for support. The courtroom lights were glaring, with cameras stationed throughout. The prosecutor stood at the podium, having memorized every detail of the case. Abigail sat down, her back against the chair, her pregnant belly clearly visible through her dress. She could feel every gaze filled with hope, but also pressure. A voice called out, "Court is now in session. Prosecutor, please present the charges." Abigail closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and prepared for the most defining moments of her life. Prosecutor Nora Wilson stepped up, her eyes steady. She opened the case file and spoke, "Your Honor, we will prove every detail in this indictment. First, we will show the ultrasound video by Dr. James, in which Abigail's fetus was confirmed, and the suspect immediately fled. Behind her, a blurry ultrasound image played on screen. Dr. James's voice echoed from the recording, "This fetus is approximately 14 weeks old, in stable condition, but it is biologically impossible for a 13-year-old girl unless there has been sexual abuse." The courtroom fell silent, the only sound was Abigail's own heartbeat in her ears. She clutched Mrs. Evelyn's hand tightly. Nora continued, "Next, we present Nurse Aria's medical report, confirming bruises and scratches on Abigail's shoulders and hips, consistent with the victim's statement." Aria stepped up to the stand. "I confirm that I examined Abigail and found fresh injuries, not self-inflicted. I documented everything carefully in the medical file." Mrs. Evelyn sat frozen, torn between relief and tension. Abigail looked at Aria, full of gratitude. Scarlett jotted down notes quickly, eyes locked on David's expression. The defense attorney stood to object, permission to cross-examine the witness on her methodology. Was there any room for misinterpretation? The judge struck the gavel. "Granted. Nurse, you may answer." David approached, sarcasm dripping from his tone. "Ms. Aria, are you absolutely sure? Couldn't those injuries have resulted from a fall or other accident?" Aria responded firmly, "I'm professionally trained. There were no signs of accidental injury. The wounds were indicative of force." The room murmured approval, heads nodded. David squinted and whispered to Michael, "Don't worry. We still have witnesses." The prosecutor spoke again, "Next, we present DNA evidence confirming a biological link. The results show a 99.98% match between the stepfather and the fetus. This is irrefutable." David stood, waving a hand. "Your Honor, biological correlation does not confirm criminal behavior. It's a genetic link, not proof of abuse. There may have been closeness." Scarlett chuckled under her breath. Chloe gripped her pen. Mrs. Evelyn squeezed Abigail's hand. Nora stayed composed. Prosecutor Nora Wilson nodded and addressed the court. "Your Honor, we now call our next witness the victim, Abigail Andrews." The judge banged the gavel. The witness may enter. Abigail Andrews, please take the stand. Abigail stood, her face pale, hand clinging to Mrs. Evelyn's. Scarlett gently brushed her hair. Chloe Hall gave her a reassuring smile. William and Louise stood behind, watching closely. Abigail approached the stand, placing her hand on the Bible. Her voice trembled, I swear to tell the truth. Your Honor. The judge nodded. You may be seated. Scarlett whispered, stay calm, Abigail. Abigail took a deep breath. My name is Abigail Andrews. I'm 13 years old. I live with my grandmother, Evelyn. The prosecutor opened, please tell us what happened last month when you found out you were pregnant. Abigail looked toward Michael, her eyes filled with fury. At the time, I kept feeling dizzy and throwing up. I didn't know why. Grandma thought it was a stomach issue, so she took me to the hospital. And then? Nora asked gently. I went in for an ultrasound. When the image came up, Dr. James was shocked and called the police. I was terrified. I didn't want anyone to know. The judge turned to Michael. Does the defendant have questions for the witness? David stood, smirking. Abigail, are you sure you remember everything correctly? Were you pressured or coached? Abigail narrowed her eyes, her lips pressed tight. No one pressured me. I was afraid of him. He threatened to kill me and my grandma if I told. David waved a hand, he threatened you. Did you report this? Did anyone hear it? Abigail glanced at Scarlett. Scarlett nodded. Abigail turned back. I told Ms. Scarlett and Mr. William. Mr. William recorded the threat. William stepped forward, holding out a phone. This is the recorded threat Mr. Michael sent to Abigail, dated the 15th of last month. Scarlett played the audio. Michael's voice rang out, don't you dare talk. I know every corner of that place. If you open your mouth, your grandma won't live to protect you. The courtroom was silent. The judge reviewed the phone and banged the gavel. The audio is admitted into evidence. David quickly objected, Your Honor, the voice is unclear. It cannot be definitively linked to the defendant. Chloe Hall insisted, Your Honor, the audio is clear, and the timestamp matches the investigation timeline. We request that it be formally accepted. The judge responded firmly, so ordered. The audio is admitted. Nora continued, Your Honor, we now call Dr. James to the stand. Dr. James stepped up. His eyes were tired but firm. He bowed to the judge. I swear to speak the truth. The judge nodded. You may be seated. Please proceed. James opened his file. I am the physician who conducted Abigail's ultrasound. When I observed the image, I identified a fetal structure. This is extremely abnormal in a minor. I immediately reported it to the hospital and called the police. David interrupted, could you have been mistaken? Could the equipment have malfunctioned? James answered steadily, the equipment is maintained regularly. I've performed hundreds of ultrasounds, never once mistaken a fetus. I have maintenance logs and the ultrasound journal. David shook his head, but you did not collect the DNA sample directly. Confirming the baby's paternity requires a forensic specialist. Nora smiled faintly. We'll be calling the forensic expert shortly. During the recess, Abigail was escorted back to the waiting room. She sat curled up in a chair, dark circles under her eyes. Mrs. Evelyn knelt beside her and held her tight. Are you okay? She asked, voice breaking. Abigail sobbed, I'm so tired. I don't want to see his face anymore. Louis stood beside her, his voice firm, we'll protect you. He won't be able to hurt you anymore. Scarlett spoke gently, get some rest. Drink some water. There will be more testimonies, but you did very well today. Chloe Hall stepped forward and handed Abigail a printed photo, a picture of Abigail and Mrs. Evelyn smiling in happier times. Look at this, Abigail. This picture will remind you why you have to stay strong. Abigail wiped her tears and gripped the photo tightly. I'll try my best. That afternoon, the court called forensic expert Dr. Madison Anderson. She wore a white lab coat and spoke with confidence. Madison Anderson, forensic expert at the Institute of Criminal Sciences. I confirm that the DNA samples from the fetus and Mr. Michael match with 99.98% certainty. I also confirm that there was no tampering with the samples. David immediately objected, Your Honor, could the samples have been contaminated? Was the lab up to standards? Madison replied calmly, The Institute is ISO certified. Procedures are strictly followed, no chance of cross-contamination. I have the inspection records. The judge banged the gavel, DNA evidence is accepted. Nora continued, We would now like to present the psychiatric evaluation of Abigail. Dr. Joseph Taylor took the stand, a specialist in child psychology. I assessed Abigail's mental health and found signs of depression, anxiety, insomnia, and loss of appetite. These are consistent with trauma experienced by abuse victims. David objected again, these symptoms could also result from early pregnancy. You can't prove it was abuse. Joseph replied sharply, What pregnant girl, forced to keep secrets, constantly afraid of death, doesn't eat or sleep? I compared her condition with other pregnant teens. Abigail shows abnormally high levels of anxiety. Scarlett took notes. Mrs. Evelyn held Abigail's hand. Abigail looked at Joseph with a mix of exhaustion and hope. At the end of the day, the trial was adjourned. The judge announced, This court session is suspended until tomorrow morning. All parties are requested to prepare any missing documentation. Abigail left the courtroom, her face pale. Grace, the representative from Fearless Childhood, met her at the door. You did great, Grace praised. Tomorrow will be easier. Abigail nodded, her eyes distant. I just want it to be over. Mrs. Evelyn hugged her tightly, We've come this far. Just one more step. Louise whispered, Everything is leaning in our favor. Chloe Hall smiled, Tomorrow we close the evidentiary phase. All that's left is the verdict of law and of conscience. Abigail sighed, stepping into the car as camera flashes blinded her again. Back at the shelter, Grace led Abigail and Mrs. Evelyn into a small room. Abigail sat on the chair, trembling. Grace. I don't know if I can sleep, Abigail said weakly. I understand. Drink this warm milk, then lie down. I'll stay right here, Grace said gently, setting the glass on the table. Mrs. Evelyn looked worried, Should we call Nurse Aria? Grace shook her head. No need. She's doing better. Tomorrow she'll need to be fully awake. Abigail stared at the ceiling, whispering, I'm scared of the dreams. I keep seeing him standing there, smirking. Mrs. Evelyn hugged her tight, Don't be afraid. I'll be here all night. Louise entered as well, I'm setting the alarm system. If anything happens, we'll be here in seconds. Chloe Hall added softly, Would you like to video chat with Zoe? She's been rooting for you. Abigail nodded, Yes. Grace pulled out her phone and connected the call. Zoe appeared on screen, smiling warmly, Hi Abigail. I just want to say I'm proud of you. She held the phone tight, I'll always be here for you. You're so strong. Abigail choked up, I'll do my best. Late that night, most of the hallway lights at Hope House Shelter were out, leaving only a few blinking red lights. Abigail lay with her head on Grace's shoulder, eyes half closed, occasionally mumbling, I'm scared, he's going to come. Grace stroked her hair gently. You're safe here, Abigail. I'm not going anywhere. Abigail whimpered in her sleep, cold sweat on her forehead. She dreamt of a dark figure standing by her bed, with glowing red eyes and a hoarse voice, You'll never know peace. Abigail jolted awake, clutching her blanket. Grace sat up immediately, flashlight illuminating her face. Abigail, are you okay? Grace asked, worried. Abigail shivered. I saw him. Grace pulled her close. I'm here. Just breathe. After a while, Abigail drifted back to sleep, calmer. Grace stayed by her side, eyes red with tears. The next morning, Nurse Arya knocked on the door. Her voice was gentle. Abigail, time to wake up. Today is the final hearing, we need you strong. Abigail sat up, holding her belly, face pale. It hurts. Arya checked her blood pressure and pulse. I'll notify the doctor. You need to eat something. Abigail pointed at the milk and biscuits. I don't want to eat. Arya smiled, just a little. One bite for you and the baby. Abigail hesitated, then took a bite. Mrs. Evelyn entered, rushing to her side. Did you eat? Abigail nodded faintly. I'm trying. As the armored vehicle took Abigail, Mrs. Evelyn, and the legal team to the courthouse, heavy rain began to fall. Droplets hit the windows, trailing down in long streaks. Abigail stared outside, her heart heavy. Scarlett sat beside her and handed her a tissue. Today is important. Are you emotionally ready? Abigail looked up. I'm scared. Chloe Hall spoke from the back seat. Fear is normal. But remember, you're not alone. Your strength comes from love and hope. Louise nodded. Don't worry. We've secured the entire area. Mrs. Evelyn squeezed Abigail's hand. Imagine you're talking to the baby. Protect it. Abigail took a deep breath. For my child, for hope. The courthouse hallways were packed with reporters, lawyers, and officials. Abigail's support team was seated in the front row, near the aisle. Zoe stood behind a barrier, waving. Abigail smiled faintly. The judge entered, and the room fell silent. The session resumed. The prosecutor stood. Your Honor, we present the next witness, Mrs. Scarlett Olivia, neighbor of the victim. Mrs. Olivia, a middle-aged woman with graying hair, stepped to the stand, her voice trembling. I was home on the 15th of last month, around 11 p.m. I heard faint screams from Mrs. Evelyn's house. I peeked through the blinds and saw a figure. I couldn't make out the face, but I heard banging and the threat, shut up, or I'll make your grandma regret it. David stood to object. Mrs. Olivia, are you sure it was the defendant's voice? It was dark, and you were far away. Mrs. Olivia replied firmly, I know his voice. I've lived next door for 3 years. His voice is distinct. The judge banged the gavel. The testimony is accepted. Prosecutor Nora Wilson continued, Your Honor, the witness confirms the threats and fear Abigail endured. Next, we present the updated psychological assessment. Dr. Joseph Taylor returned to the stand. I conducted a follow-up evaluation of Abigail after yesterday's hearing. Results show a 20% increase in stress levels, with anxiety and depression indicators at high levels. David shouted, You're using her emotional state to create drama. That's not behavioral proof. Chloe Hall calmly replied, Mental health is valid evidence, proving the severe impact of abuse. The judge took notes. The testimony and evaluation are recorded. During cross-examination, David approached the witness stand. Abigail, can you describe the lighting, sounds, and smells during the alleged assault? These details might be inconsistent due to time passing. Abigail closed her eyes, then opened them. That night, the room was pitch dark. Only the hallway light shone through the crack in the door. I smelled alcohol and cigarettes. I heard water running from the shower, then heavy footsteps. Then he opened the door without knocking. I didn't even have time to react. The courtroom was silent. Mrs. Evelyn sobbed. Zoe covered her mouth, tearing up. Nora Wilson smiled softly. Abigail, how did you feel when he left the room? Abigail looked up, eyes wet. I was terrified. I didn't dare scream or cry. I just held my belly and prayed my baby was okay. Scarlett wiped away tears. You did so well, Abigail. The trial moved into closing arguments. Prosecutor Wilson stated, "We have presented sufficient evidence. We ask the court to rule justly and protect the victim." David declared, "Mr. Michael has been falsely accused. We urge the jury to consider the biological and psychological factors carefully." The judge struck the gavel. This session is adjourned. A verdict will be delivered tomorrow morning. Abigail lowered her head, exhausted, but in her eyes was a glimmer of resolve. Mrs. Evelyn embraced her tightly, tears streaming. "We made it this far." Louise patted her shoulder. "Tomorrow, justice will call Abigail's name." Zoe ran up and kissed Abigail's cheek. "I'm proud of you." Abigail gave a faint smile. "I just hope my baby and I can live in peace." By the time they returned to the shelter, the rain had stopped, and the sky had cleared. Grace met them at the door. "Tomorrow is the final step." "I believe you'll be strong," Grace said. Abigail looked up at the pale blue sky. "I'm scared, but I'll stand strong." Mrs. Evelyn held her hand. "The storm is almost over. After the storm, the sky clears." Louise added, "Get some rest. Tomorrow, we fight to the end." Abigail nodded to herself, whispering, "I'll never be silent again." Everyone took a deep breath. Preparing for tomorrow. The next morning, the sky was dark, rain pouring heavily. Abigail woke up in the middle of the night, the back pain and cramps more intense than ever. Mrs. Evelyn was already sitting by the bed, worry etched deep in her eyes. "Grandma, it hurts," Abigail whispered, her hands clutching her pregnant belly, clearly visible through her loose shirt. Mrs. Evelyn gently stroked her hair. "Hold on just a little longer. Today is the final day of the trial. Once we get through the morning, we'll be close to the finish line." Louise, Scarlett, and Chloe Hall were already gathered in the small living room, preparing the final documents. "Scarlett, are you sure we've brought everything?" Chloe asked, focused. "Yes. The audio recording, forensic reports, DNA results, testimonies from Dr. James, Nurse Aria, witness Scarlett Olivia, and Dr. Joseph Taylor," Scarlett replied, tapping the thick case file. William knocked on the table. "Security vehicles and police escorts are ready. Nothing will stop us today." Grace walked in with 2 cups of coffee. "Hot coffee for everyone. Abigail should drink some milk before we leave." Abigail came down the stairs, supported by Mrs. Evelyn. "I'm scared," she sighed. Grace smiled warmly. "Fear is normal. But you've been so brave to make it this far. Walk into that courtroom with your head held high." Zoe called in on video, "Abigail. I can't be there today, but I'll be praying for you." Abigail gave a faint smile. "Thank you. I'll try." The armored vehicle stopped in front of the courthouse, raindrops thudding against the windows. Abigail stepped out, wearing a white dress over a sweater, her pregnant belly unmistakable. She walked slowly, silently but with determination in her eyes. Reporters surrounded them. "Abigail. How are you feeling today? Is your grandmother worried, Mrs. Evelyn?" Mrs. Evelyn responded, "Please respect my granddaughter's privacy." Scarlett stepped in, "Please move back. She's a minor." Police raised their arms, pushing the reporters back. Abigail bowed slightly in thanks, then walked into the main hall. Inside the courtroom, the witness seats were cleared. Abigail and Mrs. Evelyn sat in the front row, with Scarlett, Chloe, Louise, William, and Grace behind them. The trial resumed when the judge entered. "The session will continue. Today the court will hear final arguments and announce the sentencing date," the judge stated. David Parker stood up, face proud. "Your Honor, on behalf of the defendant Mr. Michael, I present the closing argument. While the DNA results and victims' testimony may appear convincing, we ask the court to consider psychological factors and family circumstances. Abigail Andrews is a girl with prior emotional trauma. She may have misunderstood, or fabricated the story to vent her anger. Scarlett frowned. Chloe whispered to Abigail, "Don't let his words shake you. We have the truth." David continued, "We also have evidence that Dr. James may have been pressured to publicize this case for hospital reputation. There are unreleased emails suggesting he was encouraged to seek special cases." Nora Wilson stood up, voice firm, "Your Honor, these accusations are baseless and slanderous. City Hospital has strict internal procedures. If Attorney David has evidence, he should present it now." David scoffed, "The evidence is still under review. I request a delay in sentencing." The judge replied sternly, "The court does not accept a delay in sentencing. Attorney David, please return to your seat." David grunted and sat down. Nora continued, "Your Honor, the charges of sexual abuse of a minor and misuse of authority within the family have been clearly proven. We have presented ultrasound reports, recorded threats, testimonies from the victim and witnesses, psychological and DNA assessments. We request the court to issue the most severe sentence." The judge struck the gavel. The court acknowledges all submissions. This session is concluded. Sentencing will take place tomorrow at 9 a.m. Abigail exhaled deeply. Mrs. Evelyn squeezed her hand. Luis pulled a blue bracelet from his pocket. "From Zoe for Abigail, for good luck." Abigail put it on, whispering, "Thank you." As they left the courtroom, the rain had stopped. The dim light of dawn began to appear. Abigail and Mrs. Evelyn walked out, the protection team at their sides. Zoe ran up and hugged Abigail tightly. "You did amazing." Abigail smiled, tears in her eyes. "Thanks. I feel lighter now." William turned to Mrs. Evelyn, "Tomorrow will be important. Please get some rest." Mrs. Evelyn nodded. "We'll return to the center and get ready." Grace held an umbrella over Abigail. "It's raining today. Tomorrow will be sunny." Abigail looked up at the sky. "I'm entering my 8th month of pregnancy. I feel weak, but for the first time, I feel proud of my body." Luis patted her shoulder. "You've already conquered yourself." Chloe smiled. "The storm is almost over. And after that, comes the light." Abigail glanced back at the courthouse, whispering, "Tomorrow, we'll welcome a new dawn." At the shelter, once everyone had returned, Grace led Abigail into the common room, where a circle of other young girls sat. Each held a cup of warm milk, the soft yellow lights glowing through the window panes. "Abigail, this is our pre-trial sharing circle. The girls will share with you how they overcame their pain," Grace explained. A girl named Haley, also a survivor, stepped forward, her eyes red but voice warm. "I understand how Abigail feels. The first time I went to court, I was trembling just like you. But when I stood there, I thought of my future, of the baby inside me, and I found my strength." Abigail listened, her eyes misty. Haley continued, "I recorded my therapist's words of encouragement. Every time I was afraid, I played it, and it calmed me down." Nurse Aria, sitting nearby, nodded. "I recorded my voice too. If you ever need it, I'll let you listen." Another girl named Jessica added, "I used to blame myself. But now I know it wasn't my fault. I got through it thanks to friends like them." Abigail gave a faint, sad smile. "Thank you. I don't feel so alone anymore." During the break, Abigail, Evelyn, and Grace stepped into the small garden behind the shelter, where purple hydrangeas bloomed. The rain had stopped, the ground still wet. Abigail sat on the bench, gently touching the petals. "I miss Mom," Abigail whispered. Mrs. Evelyn hugged her. "I miss your mother too. But she would want to see you be brave." Grace stood nearby, eyes glistening. "Believe that your mom is smiling from heaven." Abigail sighed. "I'm scared of tomorrow. Afraid the court won't be fair." Mrs. Evelyn whispered, "You've done all you could. I believe justice will come." A soft breeze blew by, making the raindrops on the leaves tremble. In the courtroom, the air was heavy as the judge struck the gavel. Harsh lights shone on Mr. Michael's face. He sat upright, his eyes still cold. The judge spoke, "Defendant Michael, based on all records, testimony, and forensic evidence, the court finds you guilty of sexually assaulting a minor. I sentence you to 20 years in prison, without parole. Court is adjourned." A loud shout rang out, "This can't be." Attorney David Parker stood abruptly, voice raised, "Your Honor, this is a farce. We will appeal." The judge replied coldly, "The ruling is final. The defendant has the right to appeal within the legal timeframe, but the sentence stands." Mrs. Evelyn stood, tears flowing. "Justice has come. Abigail, are you okay?" Abigail sat on the witness bench, hands around her pregnant belly, eyes red. She cried, He won't get away this time." Scarlett stepped up, placing her hand on Abigail's shoulder. "It's over. They can't deny the truth anymore." Louise whispered, "He paid the price. We won." David sneered, muttering to Mr. Michael, "They'll regret this verdict. We'll appeal, and everyone will see." Abigail turned to him, voice steady, "You can't destroy me anymore. I'm the one who won." Mrs. Evelyn choked up, "This girl is a warrior." She embraced Abigail tightly, as if afraid to lose her again. Outside the courthouse, the rain had stopped, and the sky cleared. Supporters gathered, holding banners, "Justice for Abigail, protect children." A reporter asked, "Abigail, how do you feel about the verdict?" Abigail smiled wearily. I feel relieved. At last, I can look to the future." Zoe ran up, "I'm so proud of you." She hugged Abigail tightly. William said, "We need to take Abigail to the hospital now. The birth could be near." Scarlett nodded, "Yes, to avoid stress, we should go immediately." Louise opened the armored vehicle door. "Get in. Let's move quickly." At City Hospital, the maternity waiting room was ready. Grace, Nurse Aria, and Dr. James were already waiting. Grace rushed forward, "Abigail, you're here. Grandma Evelyn is over there." Evelyn ran to her granddaughter, "Are you in pain?" Abigail clutched her hand. "I've had a few contractions, and I'm really scared." Aria spoke gently, "Just breathe. I'm here with you. The doctor will be in soon." Within 5 minutes, Dr. James arrived, carrying the file. "Abigail, I've followed your case from the beginning. Now, we prepare for delivery." Abigail looked at him, voice trembling, "I'm afraid I won't make it in time." James patted her shoulder. "You'll make it. You have strength, and everyone here is with you." The delivery room was ready. Abigail lay on the bed, knees bent. Evelyn sat beside her, holding her hand. The doctor said, "We're administering a local anesthetic to reduce pain. When you're ready, push with my count." Grace whispered, "You can do this. Think of your baby, think of hope." Abigail nodded, eyes shut tight. Aria gave the injection and held her hand. 1, 2, push. James called out. Abigail pushed hard, her face turning red. "Great job. Keep going," the doctor encouraged. Abigail panted, Evelyn teared up. "You're doing amazing." After 3 intense contractions, the weak cry of a baby filled the room. "It's a girl!" Nurse Aria exclaimed. "She's healthy, weighs 7 pounds 11 ounces. Abigail burst into tears. I did it. I really did it." Evelyn cradled the child, sobbing. "Oh, my little hope. Grandma loves you." Aria wiped Abigail's tears. "She's a fighter. And you're a wonderful mother." Right after the trial ended, in the detention center, a guard lowered the cell bars. Mr. Michael banged on the door, his eyes bloodshot. "Bring me water. Now," he screamed. The guard replied, "I've got other things to do. You've heard your sentence. Quiet down." Mr. Michael bristled and turned to his cellmate. "Listen, Miguel. Do you know who I am? I have power. I'll get revenge." Miguel, a skinny man, replied calmly, "You talk a lot. But here, nobody cares who you are. You're a convict." Mr. Michael gritted his teeth and slammed his fist on the bars. "This isn't over." Miguel chuckled. "You have the right to appeal. But in here, you're just another prisoner." In the hospital waiting area, the nurses gathered around the tea table, chatting warmly. "We're going to visit Abigail and the baby. These flowers and formula are for her." Nurse Madison added, "And some sweets too. Newborns need energy for nursing." Grace smiled. "We graduated med school together, and now we've formed a support squad for Abigail. She deserves all the love." Another nurse said, "We'll rotate shifts to make sure someone's with Abigail and Hope 24/7. They won't be left alone." Under the soft light of dawn, Abigail woke beside sleeping Hope. Evelyn had prepared a light breakfast in the cozy room at the Fearless Childhood Education Center. "Grandma. I'm awake," Abigail whispered with a smile. Mrs. Evelyn replied gently, "Did you sleep well? I've left a bottle for the baby." Abigail looked toward the crib. "Did she nurse okay?" Nurse Aria said she slept soundly and fed well. "Now eat some bread, sweetie." Abigail sat up, her eyes lighting up as she looked around. Books, a laptop, and a desk were ready. "Eat quickly, there's life skills class this morning, then literacy and computer lessons," Teacher Karen reminded. "Yes, I'll join," Abigail responded. In the life skills class, the group of young mothers sat together. Mia, a girl with long hair and a warm voice, shared, "Yesterday, I read an article by journalist Sophia Thomas. She wrote beautifully about your story. Hundreds of people have sent you letters." Abigail was surprised. "Really? I didn't expect so many people would care." Ethan, a volunteer, beamed. "There are letters from Chicago, Los Angeles, New Orleans. They've sent gifts, clothes for Hope, and pages of encouragement." Abigail grew emotional. "That really warms my heart." Karen smiled. "Your story has inspired many." After class, Ethan led Abigail to the small library, where shelves were filled with books on parenting and child psychology. On the table was a stack of new letters. "Abigail, I brought today's mail. This one's from Mothers United for Justice. They sent gifts for your baby," Ethan said, opening an envelope. Abigail read aloud, "Congratulations, mother and child. You are the hope of the future. With love from San Diego." She paused, stunned. "I thank them." Another letter from Providence read, "You're stronger than we imagined. Everything will be all right." Abigail turned to Ethan, "I want to write thank you letters. Can I?" "Of course," Ethan nodded. In the afternoon, during computer class, Ms. Ashley guided Abigail in drafting a letter and posting a blog. Abigail typed, "Hello, I'm Abigail. I want to thank everyone who sent letters and gifts." Ms. Ashley encouraged her, "Write naturally. Share your real feelings." Abigail continued, "I used to be scared and silent. But because of you, I've realized I'm not alone. I will live strong for my daughter, Hope." That evening, a discussion was held in the common room. Journalist Sophia Thomas arrived, bringing her published article from the Washington Voice. "I interviewed Abigail and Mrs. Evelyn, and heard Hope's first cries. I believe this story will awaken society's conscience," Sophia shared. Abigail listened, her eyes filled with hope. Sophia added, "The Hope Abigail campaign has collected clothes, formula, and tuition support. Scarlett, a volunteer, said proudly, I helped pack the gifts. Each one was a blessing. Abigail smiled. I feel so loved. The next day, the life skills graduation ceremony was held. Abigail wore a traditional long dress, her baby bump visible. She stood on the stage, receiving her certificate from Ms. Karen. This certificate is awarded to Abigail Andrews' brave mother and outstanding student, Karen announced. Zoe cheered, you deserve it. Abigail was emotional. Thank you, Miss Karen. Thank you, everyone. I will use this knowledge to raise my child and support others. That afternoon, the group visited Hope Haven, a safe house for women and children. Evelyn, Scarlett, Ethan, Sophia Thomas, Karen, Ashley, Grace, Aria, Louise, and William were all present. This is where mothers and children live safely, said Director Isabel. Abigail looked around. I hope everyone here finds peace. Mrs. Evelyn smiled. So do I. Louise patted Abigail's shoulder. You've weathered the storm. Now it's your time to shine. That night, Abigail sat on the balcony of Hope Haven, holding hope. Zoe live-streamed. We're here with Abigail and baby Hope, watching the night sky. Abigail looked into the camera. Hello everyone. Thank you for being with me through everything. Zoe nodded. So many people have sent encouraging messages. Abigail turned to Hope, her voice soft, from now on, Mommy won't live in fear anymore. Because you are my hope. When it ended, Zoe sighed, you spoke beautifully. Abigail laid Hope in her crib. She's sound asleep. I'm tired too. Mrs. Evelyn stepped outside, pride in her eyes. My girl, both of you are warriors. Scarlett smiled. This is only the beginning. There are so many more to help. Karen asked, Abigail, would you consider becoming a guest speaker to share your story? Abigail thought for a moment. I want to help other mothers heal. Louise nodded. That's a great idea. Aria added, I'll continue monitoring you and Hope's health. Late at night, Abigail and Mrs. Evelyn sat by the small table, gazing out the window. Mrs. Evelyn said, I was so afraid of losing you. Abigail held her hand. I know. But now we have each other and will live for hope. Mrs. Evelyn embraced her. I promise I won't let you suffer again. Abigail smiled. And I promise I'll never be silent again. Outside, the safe house glowed under warm golden lights, a beacon of hope for wounded souls. The lesson from this story is that even in the darkest moments, silence only prolongs pain while truth and courage pave the way to justice and hope. If you're hurting, seek help from loved ones, mental health professionals, and your community. You are not alone. Society must listen, empathize, and protect children, while firmly condemning the abuse of power. Faith in justice and human kindness can ease the wounds and light the path to a brighter future.